Notre
article up there. That was hilarious.
What?
The everyday feminism article. You know that one, the non-gender conformity of my fatness. Remember that?
Okay, looks like
Oh my God!
looks
Yeah.
like we're live. Hello everybody. It is the Dark Conservative.
Remember that?
Okay, looks like
Oh my God!
well, sorry for the awkward introduction, everybody. OBS looks like it's coming in fine, but yeah, so we were just off air there. We were talking about Notre Dame, how it is essentially lit up in flames and all that crap. And
Yeah, the spire fell after it stood for over 800 years, and today it fell in 2019.
It's hard to believe. I mean, they're going to rebuild it, but at the same time, it's never going to be the same. I mean, the rooftop was made of like 13,000 logs of oak, so basically a whole forest. And they destroyed. They got and those old. Each of that wood was like 400 years over, almost over 1,000 years old, and now it's all gone.
Yeah, shows nothing's indestructible. Time will destroy everything. Even stars die.
Yeah,
Yep.
even black holes die.
Yes, they do.
I'm never gonna be able to look at Hunchback of Notre Dame the same ever again.
Yeah.
Hopefully, that what was the name of that Hunchback in there?
Quasimodo.
Hopefully Quasimodo made it out.
Yeah. You don't know how
Quasimodo
you know how
died.
fucked up the book that movie's based on is.
Here's the thing, Aspie, you're forgetting Quasimodo died at the grave of Esmeralda. Or
Yeah, in the book, yeah. All right, he doesn't swing to save Esmeralda from being burned. She is burned at the stake. And in the book, he finds her burnt body, okay, and he curls up next to it for several days until he starves to death.
Ooh, that is very sad.
Yeah. Well, that movie's very dark. The Disney version for a Disney cartoon, it's pretty amazing that movie got a G rating with all the fucked up shit in it.
Yeah, all the religious sort of connotations to it, and very oddly very sexual references to it in there too, such as when he's speaking to the desire he feels towards Esmeralda, and the everything. Yeah, it was just really just surprised.
Yeah, I've been critical of how the PG rating has been watered down and everything.
Yeah,
is,
was just
but
really
that one is one that should have gotten a PG rating even back then.
Yeah, I mean PG. Do you think there's even really that big of a difference between G and PG?
Yeah, not anymore, but there used to be. Back like in the 80s or 90s, if an animated movie got a PG rating, it really meant something. Today, it's kind of become a joke.
It's kind of just they just throw a PG on there just to make it slightly more
just to make it edgy, you know.
Slightly more, but I mean, you have children's movies that are clearly done for little kids that somehow get a PG rating.
Like Inside Out, for example.
And Inside Out's a great movie. That's not one I would talk about. More like
that's a piece of art right
well,
there.
I was meaning it's a kid's movie.
I mean, it is
somehow got a
primarily
PG
aimed at
rating.
kids, but I think it's a masterpiece regardless of your age.
Yeah,
It is
Talking
think
more
it's-
about movies like Hop or something like that,
It's
or
pretty
like
good in
just
general.
garbage movies.
But anyway, so before we go talking,
Well, yeah,
too
we're a
much
little
about
off topic,
movies,
but yeah.
I'll probably rename this stream to something like Notre Dame Burns. Instead, it's named Responding to a Race Baiter, because a little bit later we are going to be responding to this article from the Texas Observer. I cannot remember how I came across this article, but she's 28, she's an immigrant, she's in charge of Texas's most populous county. Get used to it. And I sense a little bit of race baiting there, but opening up, we are, yes, going to be talking about Notre Dame burning.
I don't see why they have to have so much spite in the title. Why not just say she's representing your most populous district? Okay, that's all you need. The get used to it is a very passive aggressive.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
Kind of why I thought, it's some response bait. Anyway, CNSnews.com, Notre Dame spokesman, nothing will remain from the frame of Cathedral due to fire. Nothing will remain from the frame of France's iconic Notre Dame Cathedral once the fire that has been ravaging the historic Catholic Church for hours is finally extinguished, a spokesman for the cathedral said Monday. The cathedral's spire and entire roof have collapsed due to the fire, the Catholic news agency reports. The Cathedral Notre Dame is on fire, according to the Paris Fire Department. Multiple eyewitnesses shared photos and videos of the cathedral with visible plumes of smoke and flames across the cathedral's roof. The historic spire of the cathedral collapsed shortly before 8 p.m. The entire cathedral roof appears to have collapsed while the fire continues to burn within the main structure. Notre Dame, oh, okay. I just noticed something right here. Corey says that he is able to join the stream, so I'm going to send him a link very quickly. Hold on a second, Corey. If you guys have any commentary that you want to add to what I've read so far.
I mean, there's not really much to say. You know, it's a fire, burned out piece of history that's been around for centuries.
I'm amazed it lasted so long.
Yeah, I know.
Alright, so Corey, I have sent you the Hangouts link via Twitter if you're able to join that way. But anyway, pull up OBS, or actually no. Not OBS, need to pull up the...
Actually, there was some news that a little while ago that actually said this is kind of an early response. People were very emotional. In fact, they managed to save the two main towers of Notre Dame. They managed to actually save a lot.
Really?
That's good.
Oh, this is a pretty short article right here. Continues. Notre Dame spokesman Andre Finot, or how you pronounce that, told French media everything is burning, nothing will remain from the frame. Fox 59 reports. The cathedral has been a Catholic treasure for more than 800 years. Old. Notre Dame Cathedral Paris notes. One of the most notable monuments in Paris, and in all of Europe for that matter, is the Notre Dame Cathedral. This Catholic treasure is over 800 years old. It is located on a small island called the Ile de la Cite, or Cité, how do you pronounce that, in the middle of the River Stein. The building of the cathedral was completed over the course of 200 years. It was started in 1163 during the reign of King Louis the Seventh, and was completed in 1345. Wow, that is quite the lengthy construction right there. More lengthy than the constructions and everything done to the Alamo prior to it being sacked by the Mexicans. You know.
But yeah, well, back then construction was so much less efficient than it is today. It was you didn't have like modern engineering tools.
It wasn't necessarily modern during the time of the Alamo, but it was at least more modern, right? More modern,
yeah, but they didn't have any cranes or bulldozers or anything like that. It was pretty harsh back then.
All right. Corey, if you're still in the chat, I sent it to you on Twitter again. Tell me if like the link is working, if you're able to do that. Otherwise, I'll send you one like via your email or something. But anyway, moving on to the next article. Texas Observer, she's 28, she's an immigrant, she's in charge of Texas's most populous county. Get used to it. Now, I don't really care about what your position on immigration might be. It seems rather silly that you would be bringing up, you know, this kind of race baiting. Like,
get used to it.
Is the reasoning as to why that you think, or do you really think that the reasoning for why people are against illegal immigration is because of race? Not everybody. I mean, for a bunch of alt-righters, maybe, but but that's not for the vast majority of people in America. Oh, two plebs talk news in the chat. Says, holy shit, man, that looks good. By the way, sorry I missed Sunday. My voice is fucked. No, I did not have any stream yesterday. Saturday was when I had the celebration, the milestone celebration. But hey, thanks for the commentary on the setup here. When Lena Hidalgo was elected Harris County judge in November, many scoffed at her unexpected victory. Now she's on a mission to prove that her progressive agenda is just what Houston needs. Simon Cruz timidly approached the lectern at the March 12th meeting of the Harris County Commissioner's Court. The 79-year-old resident of Park Place, a predominantly Hispanic subdivision near Hobby Airport in southeast Houston, nervously introduced himself and told the court he was worried. He lived in the area for more than 5 decades, and now he was afraid the addition of a new development nearby would cause his home to flood when the big storm struck.
I was laughing at a tweet. It says Bernie Sanders' income now puts him in the top 1% of taxpayers. That's funny.
Oh, I just noticed that Corey has joined. Hello, Corey.
Corey.
Hey,
Hello,
what's
Corey.
up? What's up?
The ceiling.
The usual nerdy, smartass response. But yeah, Corey is somebody that I have met in Nate, the voluntarist ANCAP circle, the ANCAP Illuminati, and yeah, I'm kind of looking for a possible new co-host to add on, and so that is why he is here, y'all.
Thank you for having me, man. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And don't stereotype me. People who have never seen me before. I'm not one of those ANCAPs that cry about the state every 5 seconds.
All right. Yeah, that's kind of what I was wanting to know originally, but I forgot to ask the question, is if you could, like, observe the government as is. Like, of course you'll have your beliefs that you think that the government should not exist at all, but just, like, an ability to observe, like, Republican versus Democrat or whatever else have you.
I heard there's a lot of people about the whole, back to Notre Dame real fast. I saw a few reports today by that Paul Joseph Watson had retweeted, basically saying that there were other church burnings in the area that very recent before this. So
I have heard that, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're connected.
I'm not saying that either, but I'm just saying that some people think that it's somebody's going around doing church burnings.
Do you guys know the history of Notre Dame?
Yeah, it was like one of the main intellectual centers of Europe at one point in history. I mean, I listened to some of the music that actually came from Notre Dame. It was very weird, but it was kind of like a 4-part chant style. Very weird.
You know what happened to it during the French Revolution?
What did they do?
They fucked it up. They had destroyed many of its decorations. They desecrated the church. This is kind of, I'm kind of getting, if there are other like church desecrations like you say, like there's other church burnings, I'm kind of getting that vibe with the yellow vest in France. They're trying to send that message that the quote unquote revolution is coming. And also Napoleon I got his coronation in Notre Dame after they rebuilt it too.
About the Yellow Jackets, very quickly, like originally it started off as an anti-tax movement, but then it just kind of evolved into a whatever the fuck type of movement.
Yeah, they became anti-capitalist quick.
Yeah, which is kind of why that I am not so enthused about Yellow Jackets, because they seem to have as much of a political anchor as Anonymous does, because Anonymous is rather ambiguous with what they support and whatnot.
Yellow Jackets are the worst. Their stings hurt like hell.
Oh, hardy har. All right.
Heck, somebody posted. Did Obama's deep state burn down Notre Dame Cathedral to replace it with a mosque? You people
my god! Ugh.
Highly unlikely.
Highly unlikely. Deep state exposed. Yeah, conspiracy theorist most likely.
Yeah. Every time there's any kind of big event, it always brings up both the conspiracy theorists and the far left ghouls who want to complain about some kind of colonialism of the past, that this is somehow a good thing. Ghouls will always come out any tragedy.
Pumpkin Row in the chat says, by the way, the movement only changes as a result of government plants. They're known to sabotage movements. That may be a possibility, but until the government plants are purged of the movement, I'm still not so much enthused about the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah.
Anyway,
if you let government plants shift your group's attention that much to when it's an entirely new group, your group didn't have a goal in the first place, and it's just useless.
Paul Joseph Watson put up a whole scrolling of all the people who were doing the laughing face on Facebook during the Notre Dame on the live stream of the Notre Dame fire. A lot of Muslims.
What the fuck is wrong with these people?
Well, imagine my shock.
Wait, how do you know? Wait, here's the thing though. How do you know they're Muslims?
Look at their names. A lot of them are in Arabic.
What? You go to Lebanon, it's full of Catholics, and their names are Mahabibi and things like that. You're Catholics. They're not Muslims. You can't just go off by the names unless they're like, you know, they got the beard going off. Then maybe.
But I'm like, why would? Yeah, I don't know. You see like opportunists on all sides, like wanting to celebrate shit. It's really
true, but at the same time, it's just not fun. It's just not a good day today.
And ultimately, it is just a building. No human beings died there, so
yeah,
could have been worse.
The reporting of the story is purely symbolic. But anyway,
right.
Continuing on with the next article that I had lined up. He lived in the area for more than 5 decades, and now he was afraid of the addition of a new development nearby would cause his home to flood when the next big storm struck. His testimony was followed by that of a neighbor, an environmental advocate from the Sierra Club, and a half-dozen others interested in flood control issues, totaling nearly an hour. Fun fact, everybody, one of the earlier presidents of the Sierra Club unironically advocated for I think a one-child policy or something like that. Some extreme population control method.
People who like support things like that really don't understand how overpopulation is not a real problem. Like it's not really a problem that humans should be thinking about. Like the next kid going to be born, we're going to be overpopulated, and everyone's going to starve.
Okay. I did not mean to like go off on too much of a tangent, but just a few months earlier, such a banal scene. Residents and stakeholders testifying before local government and receiving immediate feedback from elected officials would have been unusual for the commissioner's court. For decades, the twice-monthly meetings rarely ran longer than an hour and a half, and only a handful of citizens got the chance to speak. Now the meetings have ballooned into 7 or 8 hour affairs. Okay, I'm wondering as to when this article is going to be talking about what is gal's name? Whatever. Lena Hidalgo, that's her name. That's the doing of Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo. Okay, there we go. A 28-year-old political newcomer whose unexpected victory in November put her in charge of governing Texas's most populous county. Yeah, about as old as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Yeah. Up and comer in the political game. Her election solidified a progressive majority on the 5-member governing body. She's pledged to build a county that works for everyone, and 3 months into her term, she hasn't wasted any time getting started. One of her first motions after taking office in January was rescinding a rule limiting public input on a given issue to 15 minutes. Okay. She was definitely underestimated. She's young, she's brown, and she's a she. I don't care if she's a she or
we
she's
don't
brown.
care. Okay, we get it.
She's a she. That's very descriptive. Like that first lyric of an Avril. It's like that first lyric of that Avril Lavigne song. He was a boy, she was a girl. Can I make it any more obvious?
Hidalgo is responsible for a portfolio few millennials can rival. Despite its name, the county judge is an executive, not judicial position. Really? That's unconventional. overseeing a payroll of nearly 18,000 people, a burgeoning population of more than 4 million, and a $4.8 billion budget. If that isn't enough, Hidalgo is now also the county's director of emergency management, responsible for guiding the region through floods and superstorms like Hurricane Harvey. Few expected Hidalgo to unseat Ed Emmett, a popular moderate Republican who was widely regarded as a highly effective steward and one of the powerhouses of Houston politics. Just 15 months before winning the election, Hidalgo moved back home to Houston from Cambridge, Massachusetts, where she'd been living for the past year, working on a graduate degree at Harvard to take on Emmett. Though the Senate race between Beto O'Rourke and Ted Cruz dominated headlines, Harris County turning solidly blue was arguably the biggest news of the night, and Hidalgo, a young progressive Hispanic immigrant, is now the face of this ostensible new Houston. Okay, I gotta say, I do not care so much if she's an immigrant at all. I mean, the biggest question for myself personally, and a whole lot of other people,
is she a communist?
Right. Well, yeah. That as far as beliefs go, that's a concern as well. But our concern is the legality of her immigration status. You know.
She's a fence hopper.
Oh god, you fucking racist, Aspie.
I'm ready to. If Trump manages to build his wall, I wonder if anybody's gonna try and get over it with one of those pogo stick thingies. What is it called? The vaulting stick? What they do in the Olympics?
Hey, that's one of the jokes of how there are no Mexicans in the Olympics.
Yeah, because everyone who can run, jump, and swim is here. Yes, I know that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And in fact, Aspie, I forgot to call you out for how racist you were for daring to assume that all those Catholics are Muslims just for their rather Arabic names. You piece of shit.
Whatever, dude.
Anyway, it's now the face of this ostensible new Houston. But many Houstonians greeted their new county judge with skepticism. Few in the county's traditional political establishment lined up behind Hidalgo as a candidate, and many downplayed her victory. Lena won on a Beto-driven wave of straight-ticket voting, said Paul Simpson, the chair of the Harris County Republican Party. I didn't think the county judge was an entry-level position, he added sarcastically. Oh, come on. That's a freaking joke right there. Like, why do you have to make an issue about that? I don't know. She's certainly an unconventional pick to lead the nation's third largest county. I'm hearing my own voice reverbing off of somebody's audio, by the way. Don't know who that's from.
Let me turn my microphone. I can fix this problem.
Oh, all right. Thank you. She's certainly an unconventional pick to lead the nation's third largest county. She's never held political office and hadn't attended a commissioner's court hearing before being elected. In one debate, Hidalgo couldn't name the county auditor. Okay. She entered office with dozens of... What?
Well, very ignorant, I see.
Yeah, it's like Gary Johnson's Aleppo moment.
Yeah, that's true.
She entered office with dozens of critics who were wary of her inexperience and dubious of her knowledge of the limitations of the job. Now, I will say that age and inexperience doesn't necessarily disqualify somebody. In fact, actually, this is relatively small as far as political positioning goes. So this would be kind of, in my opinion, a good place to start. Or, well, maybe she could have gone smaller, like city council instead.
Legally, she's not legally she's allowed to run, but at the same time, we prefer people with experience who know what they're doing. So,
yeah.
so you know they actually run an effective so that their time in office is actually an effective one.
Well, yeah, we prefer people with experience, but you gotta get them experience first, which they're obviously going to start off fairly inexperienced.
You work in political campaigns. You learn a language. You do all the small stuff, and you slowly work yourself up.
Yeah, there is that. I don't see anything necessarily here that showed her being like a political campaigner or anything like that. So there is that. She could have started off at least as small as like a city council member or something.
Yeah.
Her
It can only teach you. She looks like a lot of these college kids. They think they can run, they can do politics the second they get out of college. Getting out of college, it can teach you how to talk real smart, but nothing can truly teach you how to be a good leader.
Well,
You're blessed.
maybe leading a sports team or something, but
I don't think so. Sports is different than a community.
yeah, it's a little bit different, but it's still like a rough start. I don't know. Excuse me. Her supporters counter that she's been prejudiced or prejudged, excuse me, by those who can't see past her age. Well, that's kind of everybody. I mean, S-Man gets that whole fuck ton. Gender and ethnicity. Gender and ethnicity, huh? By how many people exactly? After Hidalgo gave a press conference in both Spanish and English, Mark Tice, a commissioner in neighboring Chambers County, wrote online, "English, this is not Mexico." Okay. My question was she actually speaking Spanish to a primarily English-speaking audience? It would be my question to that. Later telling the Houston Chronicle, "This is the United States, speak English," and calling Hidalgo a joke. When pressed, Tice couldn't explain why Hidalgo was unqualified. "I don't have her resume in front of me," he said. I will say that obviously there shouldn't be any laws saying as to whether or not a person should speak English all or even most of the time in the country, but it's still, if anything, it would be through social pressures or something like that. But you'll probably just naturally get pressurized to speak the native language of the country that you're moving to, nonetheless. But anyway, she was definitely underestimated. "She's young, she's brown, and she's a she," said Sarah Slayman. There's the saying again. A Democratic political consultant adding that the county's traditional king and queen makers are playing a bit of catch-up. But with all the consternation, okay, on one side and excitement on the other, few have asked a basic question. Who is Lina Hidalgo, and what does she plan to do over the next 4 years? Hidalgo certainly has an answer. "I'm one of you." Hidalgo frequently tells constituents before launching into her 3 priorities: public safety, criminal justice reform, and making county government more transparent and accessible. "I don't think county government should be a mystery to anybody," she says. And by the way, Corey, I do not know if you like fully caught on, but if you have like some commentary to add in, don't be afraid to like interject in.
Oh, I got you, bro. My fault. I was just waiting. I'll just wait till you're done talking, and then I'll say something. But I got you. Just speak.
All right. She's laid out a progressive vision for what county government can do for its citizens and has the kind of advocacy background many political leaders lack. Her philosophy for the office is rooted in her immigrant upbringing, one that mirrors the more than 1 million other immigrants who call Harris County home. And if she is successful over the next 4 years, she could very well be the future of Democrats in Mexico. Rooted in her immigrant upbringing, that's kind of ambiguous as to what your agenda or your philosophy is right there. Now, if you said in your American upbringing, that would be not so much ambiguous, but anyway, that it is what it is, though. 5 hours into Lina Hidalgo's first commissioner's court meeting, Carmen Yvonne, a short, middle-aged woman, stepped up to testify. She began by gently chastising the court in rudimentary English for its lack of translators before switching to Spanish and launching into a 3-minute comment on minimum wage rates in the county. Well, if you do not learn English, as you're immigrating into the country, that's kind of on you.
You're going to a country that speaks English. The only time you'll see another language spoken in a community, if the community is really small, and I'm pretty sure learning English in some way or form is a requirement to become a citizen.
Yeah, it pretty much is. But even without the law, I still think that there should be social pressures, at least at Pride, which there naturally are. And if there wasn't a law, that would even more so make it their own fault that they don't learn English, the native language or whatever of the country they're moving in. Sitting beneath an imposing portrait of Sam Houston, Hidalgo, herself fluent in Spanish, briefly summarized Yvonne's comments for her monolingual colleagues, then stressed the need to address language access in the court. So that's really the pressing issue of your campaign. I saw it as a moment to recognize the diversity of our county. You know, I don't care about like diversity in race and whatnot, but there should be like a sound communication within a community. Otherwise, if you're gonna have like a Tower of Babel type situation, to throw out an analogy right there, where like the entire community will just splinter off. What, Corey?
I was about to say, well, if we like move around and have Spanish, right? What about all the other languages? What about, you know, the bigger languages like French, German, Italian, all that? Or what about the lesser known languages that are spoken by African immigrants when they come over? Or Arabic? How about some Arabic? Throw that in there, and it's just going to become a bunch of translators everywhere, ready to do nothing.
Yeah, that is a point right there. It's going to be like dozens upon dozens of different translators for a single public speaker, and so on and so forth. And it'll be another expense on taxpayer dollars in a way. Private organizations, if they want multiple translators, it's whatever. But I think what we're speaking here is public sector in this context. And by the way, everybody, Loudmouth has left, just to let you know, because I'm not showing the Google Hangouts on the stream browser here. I'm gonna have to figure that out, how to show Google Hangouts. Anyway, I saw it as a moment to recognize. Oh wait, no, I already read that part. Hidalgo later said of Yvonne's testimony, "I felt a bit disappointed that I hadn't thought about language access. It sort of underlined the need for community participation." The exchange also reminded Hidalgo of her father when her family first immigrated to Houston. He had a thick Colombian accent and struggled to understand certain English phrases, but over time he came to see his budding bilingualism as an asset. I don't think county government should be a mystery to anybody. Hidalgo speaks in carefully considered sentences with the calm, measured cadence of a seasoned politician. At meetings, she sits between the courts before the courts for other commissioners, all men over the age of 50, and commands conversations often about complex public policy issues. Petite with a bob of curly black hair, she occasionally stumbles over court decorum and lacks the charismatic pizzazz of other newly elected millennial politicos, such as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but she also doesn't allow her more senior colleagues to speak over her. Now, as far as Cortez goes, whatever charisma or whatever that she has, she kind of sacrifices intelligence for that.
When she decided to put on a quote-unquote black scent when she spoke in front of a majority black audience, I probably wanted to just give her a nice slap across the face. Like, she's going the Hillary Clinton route when Hillary was like, how do you get black voters? Say you like chicken and you got hot sauce in your purse. There you go.
Face palm.
like that's black people don't sit there and like, oh, that politician eat chicken and watermelon. Oh yeah. Like,
although there are some of those who did like make Obama's skin tone an issue as to why they voted for him.
We don't talk about those.
Yeah, right. We don't talk about them. We don't talk about them.
They made that mistake and realized the way their neighborhoods looked under Bush is going to look the same under Obama, and it's going to look the same under Trump. So.
She may not have been born in Texas, but she's a tough Texas gal, said Adrian Garcia, the former Harris County sheriff who was elected to the commissioner's court in November. Hidalgo was born into a middle-class family in Bogota, Colombia, at the height of the country's deadly drug wars. Middle class despite a drug war. That's fairly privileged of you, and I don't say that ethnically privileged, by the way.
She had money, you know.
Yeah, that kind of privilege right there.
She had some money. Because she had enough to immigrate over to the U.S., right? So there you go.
Her family struggled to live normal lives in the midst of car bombs and kidnappings. When Hidalgo was 5, an explosive detonated just blocks from her home, shattering a row of glass windows in the living room as the family played a board game nearby. Her parents decided it was finally time to leave. For the next decade, the Hidalgos lived in Peru and Mexico City. Her dad worked as an engineer. Okay, so they gradually made it up north to the United States.
Okay, so it wasn't just like a, hey, let's get out of here.
Yeah, it wasn't like one flight or whatever. Her dad worked as an engineer and her mother stayed home with Hidalgo and her younger brother. In 2005, when Hidalgo was 15, her family moved to Houston, where her father got a job at an industrial recycling company. Hidalgo chuckles when she recalls her first impressions of the Bayou City. Enormous oil refineries, the sprawling port, and the tennis courts at Cypress Falls High School. My fancy international private school in Mexico didn't even have such nice facilities, she remembers. Hidalgo's family later moved to a 2-story cookie-cutter home. Very, very suburban, she said, in Katy, where she graduated from Seven Lakes High School. She spent most weekends at the University of St. Thomas in Montrose, learning everything from how to apply to colleges to how to debate as a member of the National Hispanic Institute. Okay, so there's at least that bit of experience to your credit as far as politics go, ma'am. A nonprofit program aimed at training future leaders. In 2009, Hidalgo enrolled at Stanford University, where she studied oppressive regimes and failed states as a political science major. In her spare time, she helped raise funds to establish a public service fellowship for undergraduates. From the whole time I've known Lena, if there's been one motivating factor for her, it's been public service, said Valentine Bolotny, one of Hidalgo's friends at Stanford. The two connected over their immigrant experience, which Bolotny credits as the likely roots of Hidalgo's commitment to public service. You have a very salient example of what life could have been, and what life possibly is for friends and relatives. That all builds up this desire to make the most of the opportunities you have, and to appreciate the luck that you have to give back. Following graduation in 2013, Hidalgo moved to Bangkok, Thailand to work with artists, bloggers, and journalists as part of Internews, an international NGO dedicated to promoting free expression and free press freedom. A year later, she moved back to Houston and began volunteering part-time for the Texas Civil Rights Project to help pay her bills. She worked as a Spanish language medical interpreter for patients at the Texas Medical Center. Okay, so most of this is talking about her background. I'm wondering when it's gonna get back to.
Right. It's like we were reading her autobiography. Like, I don't care. Just get to the point.
From the whole time I've known Lena, if there's, all right. There's an oft-repeated adage in county government. I think that's what I'll skip to right here. Here's an oft-repeated adage in county government, and by the way, everybody, if you want to read these articles for yourself in entirety, I will, after the stream is done, add the links to all these articles down in the description box below, but I don't have them added yet so far. There's an oft-repeated adage in county government: if you can count to 3, you can get a lot done. Okay, I don't see us how that is a saying, but okay. The last time. If you can count to 3, I'm pretty sure to balance a budget, you're gonna have to learn more than basic counting, like you're a freaking kindergartner or something. The last time Democrats controlled a majority on Harris County's 5-member commissioners court was in 1990, and as Commissioner Rodney Ellis noted in an interview, this is likely the first time 3 progressive Democrats, Hidalgo, Ellis, and Garcia, have had command of the court. The agenda at Hidalgo's first meeting reflected this leftward shift. Discussions of a $15 minimum wage, oh boy. Here we go. Approval of a committee to review the county's sexual harassment training, and the backing of a county amicus brief in a lawsuit challenging the Trump administration's inclusion of a citizenship question on the 2020 census. The backing of a county amicus brief in a lawsuit challenging the Trump administration's inclusion of a citizenship question on the 2020 census. Like, asking about a person's citizenship, big deal. I mean, that's kind of central to Trump's agenda in general, and I don't see how asking about citizenship is necessarily unconstitutional. County governments in Texas, however, are limited in their powers. They can't pass ordinances as cities can. I'm wondering. Aspie, are you still there, by the way?
Me? Sorry, I'm kind of tired. Can I, it was fun being with you guys. Can I go, please?
Yeah, sorry. You don't, you're not obligated to stay for the whole time,
all
by
right.
the way.
It's all right. It was fun. I'll talk to you guys later.
Sorry, Aspie.
See you, bro.
Bye.
See you later. Maybe I'll move on to the next article because so far this has turned off to be an off episode, and I'm bringing in a new guest host for an off episode. How's that? County governments in Texas, however, are limited in their powers. They can't pass ordinances as cities can. They can't outlaw the use of fireworks or set zoning laws. Against this backdrop, Hidalgo has carved out an ambitious vision for what county government can do on issues ranging from climate change and immigration to indigent healthcare and ethics reforms. Some say her vision is overly idealistic. Yeah, I mean, don't try to bite off more than you can chew when it comes to coming into office. I mean, it would be great, I mean, for example, if, like, somebody could, like, decrease the government, or even, for Corey's case, completely abolish the government, all within their time. But, yeah, I mean, if I want to, like, completely get rid of the minimum wage, I should not expect too much on that, because
yeah, the minimum wage being, especially with people, well, you know, for me, as an ANCAP, I want the government, like you said, I want the government gone, but I understand you can't just, like, one day wake up and, like, poof, it's gone. You gotta, like, ease into it. You can't just be like, bow, I want to get rid of it. There's gonna be a lot of pushback from it. That's how the minimum wage is gonna go. We got the $15 wagers, you know, that not understanding how the $15 minimum wage set by the state is going to hurt us, and it's going to hurt us badly. Because if a company decides to set their wages, their minimum wages themselves, that's cool. But when you have the state like telling you, okay, you're going to set 15, or you're going to be fined and you're going to be closed down because you're paying them below the way we said.
Right. And so I guess the point that I'm trying to get to is the most that you can expect is to decrease a minimum wage.
Yeah, you just decrease it as much as possible. I mean, you maybe one day, I'm not saying it's not a possibility to happen. It's probably not going to be in my lifetime anytime soon. But it can happen to the point where they just fully abolish it, because the minimum wage has a history to it that not a lot of people know. So, you know, probably use that.
Yeah. The interesting thing that a black nationalist told me when I interviewed him, that was a few episodes of Strike Force ago. He said that the minimum wage was kind of race related or something like that.
Yeah, it was the minimum wage.
The exact details, but go on.
It was started in Australia, I believe, to pay women, minorities, and people they label invalid. So that's paraplegics and not in old people, lower wage than they would pay healthy white men. And then that just kind of spread out. It was, U.S. was like, yo, that look cool. Shit, bring that over here. And then England was like, cheerio, love. Oh yeah.
Yep. If anybody goes hearing a hum, that's because I turned on my fan because it is kind of hot here in the good old Dub J or I can't remember the exact nickname for Wichita, but it's Dub some letter. Dub J, Dub G, Dub K, I can't remember exactly. Former Houston Mayor Anise Parker, who met with Hidalgo early in her campaign, said she was skeptical of her understanding of the position's jurisdictional limits. When I met with Hidalgo, she had a lot of things that she wanted to work on, and most of the issues I agreed with her on, but almost none of them had anything to do with the county, Parker said, pointing to Hidalgo's attention to immigration issues. She's clearly refined that now and has a better idea of what's possible, but she was all over the map to begin with. Parker briefly considered running for the position herself, but decided against it after concluding that she could do just as good a job as Ed Emmett, but not a better job. Alright. From the whole time I've known Lena, if there's been one motivating factor for her, it's been public service, okay? Just reading off a quote from an earlier point of the article. And, oh, we're already almost done, so I think we're going to go ahead and just finish this off. Hidalgo is undeterred by these critiques. County government is about budgets, she argues, dollars that span dozens of departments and affect every aspect of people's lives. I think, which want to, like, get it affecting less aspects of people's lives, thank you. Primarily the subjective minimum wage laws that people, that certain cities have put upon themselves, like, for example, Seattle's 15. I think part of the problem is that there's been this attitude of, the county doesn't do that, Hidalgo said. If there's an issue facing our residents, we'll go over and around a wall to address it. Is that a pun reference, or is that, excuse me, is that a jabby reference to Trump, by the way? It's just, I saw the term wall, and that's what I thought there.
It most likely is. That's how the atmosphere is now. Anytime you talk about a wall, it has to relate to Trump. So,
I'm never gonna hear wall the same ever again. Thanks,
right,
Trump.
like my boss, he was talking about repairing his wall. He was like, me and my wife, we about to go build that wall. And like when I heard it, it like clicked in my head, and I just looked at it. I was like, what? And I was like, oh wait, he's talking about his house.
A funny thing, one a Trump supporter, like within one of my jobs, he was actually told by another coworker, you want to support Trump, go ahead and build that wall for yourself. It was kind of more sarcastic than anything else, but then the Trump supporter said, yeah, I'll go and build that wall myself. I'll go and help build it myself, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, if they want the wall, of course if they're like, hey, nobody, if you want to come build the wall, we'll pay you. Come on, and you know how many people, even Mexican immigrants, would come over to help build that wall, because they're most likely going to pay like a lot of money. It's going to be a lot of benefits, and it's just
get a whole bunch of foreign labor involved in.
Yeah, it's gonna. You're gonna go. A lot of Trump supporters are gonna be upset because they're gonna see all the illegal immigrants that are helping build that wall.
Yeah, I see. I won't say it's not my problem. I'll figure out what we can do to help it. For example, she's floated the idea of funding an immigrant legal defense fund and cutting off funding to detention centers holding immigrant children. Immigrant legal defense fund. Now, I think what she's meaning is illegal immigrants, but she forgot to add the adjective right there. That kind of differentiates them from the rest of the immigrant section of the population.
Right.
That's something that bugs me in the immigration debates. That a lot of people talking about immigration don't differentiate legal and illegal immigrants.
They just bunch them all together.
Yeah. 3 months into her tenure, Hidalgo has already made progress on a campaign promise to make county government more transparent. She's pledged not to accept political donations from county contractors, a departure from the pay-to-play cronyism that's subtly plagued the relatively opaque court for decades. According to Ayer, if that's how you pronounce that, a former chief of staff to Houston, Mayor Lee Brown, who now teaches political science at Texas Southern University. She also hired a professional firm to assess talent for senior positions and launched a talking transition, borrowed from New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio. Because that's where I want my inspiration to come from when it comes to policies. Or that's where I want my politicians to be inspired from, is Bill DeCamio, as he's nicknamed by Mark Levin.
Yeah, it is. Well, at least battling cronyism is on their resume. It depends on how they're gonna battle that cronyism, though.
Yeah, plutocracy, corporatism, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That includes what?
They say in the courts, though, so they're not touching it.
Okay, yeah, you're right. In the courts, so it would be more like government corruption than actual economic or corporate corruption.
Yeah.
Or government and corporations working intertwined with one another. That includes a survey of Harris County residents and a series of town halls and seminars. County government is relatively arcane, even to Ellis, who despite nearly 3 decades in the Texas legislature, said he found county government incredibly confusing. I suspected a lot of times along the way that people were making up rules and traditions on the fly, he said. Perhaps the biggest challenge ahead for Hidalgo and Harris County is how to protect the region from another devastating storm like Hurricane Harvey. Hidalgo enters office at a particularly ripe moment, just months after voters overwhelmingly agreed to hike property taxes and approve a $2.5 billion flood infrastructure bond, thanks in part to Emmett. Emmett declined to be interviewed for this story. Hidalgo campaigned on developing guidelines which are still in draft form to equitably distribute funds for flood relief projects to all communities, not just the wealthy and privileged, as some cost-benefit analyses tend to favor. She also said she'd focus first on tackling low-hanging fruit, quote-unquote, such as implementing a better flood warning system and improving communication with residents in vulnerable areas. Yeah, low-hanging fruit, because that is something that is rather non-partisan, is better disaster relief efforts and whatnot. I mean, I mean, obviously, you as an ANCAP believe that that nobody really has a full-on right to people's own help when it comes to even disaster relief. But that's at least still one of the more understandable functions of government in your eyes. Am I framing that correct?
Restate it that you were cutting out.
As far as disaster relief goes, you obviously believe that by principle, nobody really has a right to someone else's help, including in disaster relief. But that's still at least one of the more understandable functions of government.
Right.
Would that be? Would I be understanding that right?
You're 100% right. The government should not do anything when it comes to disaster. But I know people are gasping right now. But when it comes to disaster relief and things like that, the state made itself, I believe the state, my money, I would voluntarily donate my money to help people in disasters without the state taking the taxes from me.
That's how all right-wing people would prefer it be done. Conservative, libertarian, ANCAP, whatever else have you. And go on.
No, go ahead. I was gonna say I want to donate to churches, or because I don't like to give my money to churches for them to then give it to don't give it into a charity. I just directly give it to the charity, or I'll go on myself and provide my labor to help people in disasters. But most disasters happen on the West Coast and in the South, and I live in the Midwest. The only thing I can do is just give my $5 and
you'd be dealing with the tornadoes instead, though.
Oh yeah, that's actually what had hit my I live in Ohio, so we barely get tornadoes, but we actually got one that hit. You know why I told you I stayed over? It hit my my pharmacy supplier, so I had to stay and actually fill the prescriptions because they would pre-fill them and bring them to us. We had to sit down and actually fill them all on hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, like you were saying, like, go ahead.
I was just gonna continue on with the article. In contrast with Emmett, Hidalgo has also made a point to address the role of climate change in exacerbating the county's flood control issues. Okay, close. That's a new comment on my most recent upload. The county's flood control issues, drawing praise from environmentalists. Oh boy, that kind of raises a red flag right there. The whole climate change thing right there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's one thing for you to believe in climate change and accept it as a legit science, but then it's a completely different thing if you're going to be advocating for a policy and using climate change as kind of a wedge for that policy you're advocating for, like, for example, banning oil drilling. Hidalgo. What?
I'm talking to my brother. I'm sorry.
Oh, I see. Hidalgo aims to be in the public eye more often than her predecessor, who most residents know as a figure who only appeared during a natural disaster, but she likely won't become a household name until the next storm hits. She was briefly thrust into the spotlight in mid-March in her role as Director of Emergency Management after a petrochemical storage facility in Deer Park caught fire, releasing a hazardous black plume of smoke. Wow, it's black. That was you mentioned black. That was so racist.
How dare you?
I sense Corey being microaggressed right there. You have to apologize, Texas Observer.
I need my safe space. I need it immediately.
Black plume of smoke and causing.
You said it again.
And causing school closures, a shelter-in-place notice, and a partial shutdown of the Houston ship channel. Critics pounced on Hidalgo's performance, briefing the public with some yearning for the leadership of her predecessor. Bring back Judge Emmett, one user wrote on Twitter, and others noting the ums and likes in her speech patterns. Which that's about as much of a non-issue as Obama's stuttering habit that he had when in office, but it's still kind of a funny thing to point out, nonetheless. Just my opinion.
Yeah, when I do my Obama impression, you automatically have to do the as you see, we the American people.
Yeah. The Harris County Republican Party called Hidalgo's incomprehension about certain air quality data alarming, but others noted yet again a whiff of condescension. Writing in the Houston Chronicle, John Nova Lomax said the criticism was completely unfair and counterproductive, and that the subtext was people wishing for a silver-haired white man up there rather than a young Hispanic woman. Okay, well, that is kind of you more or less straw-manning them. I mean, yeah, there might be them few wackos that would prefer a cis-hetero white man in office. But overall, I can't imagine too many people caring. Okay.
Actually, they would like a strong cis-hetero white man in office. Nobody wants a soy boy.
Oh, but yeah. Exactly. They don't want a Steve Shives, in other words. I mean, he's a cis-hetero white male, but he's not strong.
I think they have them bench like 250 before they can get into office.
New Rita Spritz.
You're like, put it
Rita
down.
Spritz is fruit forward and fizzy with subtle notes.
Oh god, I'm getting some audio. Okay. I was getting some audio from that ad right there. It was kind of off-putting. I think OBS might have caught up on that, so probably not only did I not hear everything you said, but probably people listening as well. But anyway.
I just made a corny joke. It's alright.
I gotcha. I don't know if we'll actually go over this, but apparently this is something that I have been hearing about in Twitter group chats and whatnot. People have been posting memes and whatnot about how illegal immigration apologists, you know how they're for sanctuary cities, but now they seem to be standoffish about the idea of illegal immigrants coming into their cities all of a sudden or something. What have you been hearing about that?
I've been hearing a lot about that. Actually, I've seen the memes, but I've also seen different people. Like they would go around, like somebody would go around like San Francisco, right, and ask them like, okay, would you let an immigrant come into your house, right, if you had room, or no, he would ask them, would you let an immigrant come into your house, even when they needed help, and the person was like, yeah, I would, and then they would bring a person that looks like an immigrant, some like Hispanic looking guy, and they would bring him, and they're like, this is Ernesto. He needs a place to stay. Will you let him in your home? And then they'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have room. He can't stay in my house. My house is pretty dirty. Nope. But other than that, I haven't seen like politicians like, no, we're not. This sanctuary city is not being flooded with immigrants. No, I'm not seeing that. But I'm more seeing like people like just making memes, and some people here and there like contradicting themselves when it comes to it. But other than that, nothing really big.
And so this probably being one of the people who is all like, no about the idea of illegal immigrants coming to their sanctuary city. This from cnsnews.com. It's a blog post, so take it with a grain of salt. Cher, if my state can't take care of its own, how can it take care of more immigrants? California and her hometown of Los Angeles in particular should focus on taking care of its current population of homeless, poor, and hungry instead of taking on the burden of more immigrants. Singer, entertainer Cher tweeted Sunday, I understand helping struggling immigrants, but, in all caps, my city, Los Angeles, isn't taking care of its own. What about the 50,000 plus citizens who live on the streets? People who live below poverty line and hungry. If my state can't take care of its own, many are vets, how can it take care of more? Cher's... sorry, what?
I was gonna say, I never expected Cher to be the one person to say that.
Yep. But I think this is like some past statement of hers that CNS is bringing up. Cher's tweet comes after President Donald Trump reportedly threatened to release illegal immigrants into the nation's sanctuary cities like Los Angeles, which offers safe harbor for those who illegally live in the U.S. Trump has long opposed sanctuary cities, particularly in the case of one illegal alien who shot and killed San Francisco resident Kate Steinle, the Los Angeles Times reports in an article on Trump's threat to release immigrants into California. Okay, so this isn't a statement from Cher, but anyways, sanctuary cities have long been a favorite target for Trump. During his campaign, he repeatedly criticized San Francisco for releasing from custody an immigrant who later fired a shot that killed 32-year-old that killed 32-year-old Catherine Steinle in 2015. The immigrant was ultimately acquitted in the shooting after defense attorneys argued the shot had been fired by accident. Trump called the acquittal a disgrace. I don't give a fuck if it was accident. At least jail that guy for manslaughter, if not homicide.
Right. If I accidentally shoot someone, I'm still going to face jail time. He should not have been able to just oops, my bad.
Yeah, and
my
then
fault.
Just get acquitted like that. So this from cnsnews.com as well. And how long is this particular article? It's a rather humanitarian story. Actually, it's quite a lengthy one from the Daily Mail, so I'll probably save that for another time. Actually, most of the length of the scrolling is like comments section. Anyway, yeah, I'll probably save this article for a later time, but essentially it's about how a little boy who was injured got donated a large sum of money. A monster did this. Landon is fighting to stay with us every second. Well-wishers donate $315,000 in hours for 5-year-old boy who was critically injured after being thrown off third-floor balcony at Mall of America by a stranger. Yeah, pretty fucked up shit, but it's still nice, bittersweet that people donate over $300K. What?
I want him to be thrown off that same balcony. How old's the little boy?
5, I think. Yeah, 5-year-old.
I want him thrown off that balcony 5 times. That should be his punishment, to be thrown off that balcony 5 times.
You got to get your birthday balcony throws, right?
Yeah, and that little boy on his 5th one, he should be the one that pushes him.
Mm-hmm.
Like when people, I think when I saw that article, it said he accidentally fell. I was like, wait, why did he go to jail for the boy falling? You know, like what happened? And then I looked, he threw him. He fucking. I was like, what type of journalism is this? Who decides? Hey, let me just give you a misleading title. Reuters got ratio bad because of that.
Oh man, and I always typically thought Reuters to be one of the more credible news sites. I mean, what's your opinion on them?
Yeah, I like Reuters. They're cool. I feel really bad for them because in Asia, in Southern Asia, I think it's Malaysia. One of those countries, 2 of the reporters got arrested and sentenced to like a couple years in prison for being, you know, journalists.
Yep.
So
and Putin be executing journalists. A freaking piece of shit.
Yep, it's crazy because when you, I look at it like a company, when their reporters and journalists are being imprisoned and being beaten by these governments polices, that gives more credit to them because that shows they're not backing down from what the state does. You know, it may be putting the reporters in danger, but it's also showing that they're doing more. There's more to just them making money. They're in it for another reason.
Right. So we're gonna read this article and it'll be the last one. Like I said, we'll save this one for some later date. Nadler, Trump has no right to spend money to ship immigrants all over the county. County or country? It might be a typo right there.
Yeah, that's a typo.
Wouldn't be the first time that CNS News did that, but oh well. Leading Democrats are outraged over President Trump's stated intention to ship asylum seekers to sanctuary cities and states. The president has no right to spend money appropriated by Congress for other purposes to ship immigrants all over the country. Yeah, they're referring to the country, so that is a typo in the headline. House Judiciary Chairman Gerald Nadler, Democrat, New York, told CNN's State of the Union on Sunday. If someone requests asylum, he should be considered. There should be a place for that person to stay while that request is being adjudicated. This is just, nor is it right for the president to use immigrants or people who are claiming political asylum as pawns in a fight against political opponents. I mean, hey, maybe if you were to be on his side more on the immigration issue and be advocating more for more immigration policy enforcement, then you wouldn't find yourself in this fix, Mr. Democrat.
You see how it flips so easily?
Yeah, exactly. He shouldn't use them as what he imagines as retribution to political opponents in various areas. It's another misuse of presidential power against the law, Nadler said. So is a misuse of I don't know. I can't remember exactly. Wasn't there like one executive order that Obama had signed during his tenure to offer amnesty?
Yeah, that's I couldn't tell you.
For some reason I want to think that he did, but if that really is the case, well then that's a misuse of presidential power as well, Nadler. So yeah, the irony.
The irony, isn't it? Is it? If let's say Obama did do that, and people are like, you know, stop with the whataboutism. It's just, where were you at when these things were happening?
Something. Actually, I'm going to try and search this up. Oops.
Because because when Obama was president, he was president from when I was 8 years old to 16, and by the time he got out of being president, that's when I became a libertarian.
Oh,
when he was.
Oh, okay. just going off of the autocomplete here, Obama executive order DACA. That does remind me. Yeah, he did sign an executive order for DACA.
Yep, DACA, okay, yep.
So, there's that right there, Mr. Nadler. So you might want to get your priorities straight, for your own sake, more than anything else. The freaking politicians. The president defended his plan in several tweets on Saturday. Just out, the USA has the absolute legal right to have apprehended illegal immigrants transferred to sanctuary cities. We hereby demand that they be taken care of at the highest level, especially by the state of California. I mean, the state of California, we all know, oh so how humane that state of California is to their immigrant population and so forth, so I'm sure that they will gladly take all the illegal immigrants, right?
Yeah, they'll take every single one. Yep. All that crippling debt they have, they'll just add them onto the pile of homeless.
Add up to the welfare cost. State of California, which is well known for its poor management and high taxes. So interesting to see the mayor of Oakland and other sanctuary cities not want our currently detained immigrants after release due to the ridiculous court-ordered 20-day rule. If they don't want to serve our nation by taking care of them, why should other cities and towns? Democrats must change the immigration laws fast. If not, sanctuary cities must immediately act to take care of the illegal immigrants. And we just got some new activity in the chat, by the way. Like, it's been a while since there was new activity. But hello, Toxic Threads. How are you doing? Democrats must. We're talking about sanctuary cities and the irony that Democrats are having on that as recently. Toxic. Democrats must change the immigration laws fast. If not, sanctuary cities must immediately act to take care of the illegal immigrants. And this includes gang members, drug dealers, human traffickers, and criminals of all shapes, sizes, and kinds. Change the laws now. On Friday, Trump tweeted, if the radical left Democrats all of a sudden don't want the illegal migrants in their sanctuary cities, no more open arms, why should others be expected to take them into their communities? Go home and come into our country legally and through a system of merit. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, a Democrat from the sanctuary called California, okay, I see, said Trump's suggestion to send migrants to sanctuary cities is just another notion that is unworthy of the presidency of the United States. But hey, you wanted those illegal immigrants, didn't you, Nancy Pelosi? Or, I don't know.
Whoa! Don't bring her up. Don't bring up her facts of her past. You gotta look at the now.
Yeah. If only many politicians could like erase good swaths of their past. That they would love that, wouldn't they?
I know Hillary would. Oh man, Hillary. we forget so much about Hillary. She'll just end up being one great lady.
And Toxic Threads in the chat says, good. Glad that you have such giddiness over this, Toxic. Nadler told CNN that Trump's immigration advisor Stephen Miller ought to come before Congress and explain some of these policies. Nadler conceded that Miller would likely claim executive privilege since he works for the president, but that would be a misuse of executive privilege, Nadler said, because he seems to be making the decisions, not the cabinet secretaries who come and go. Alright, so that's the end of that article. And by the way, I want to add some extra commentary to this article about, what's her face? Lena Hidalgo. I did not see any mention of her being an illegal immigrant, so that's kind of a moot point back on this article. And I did not see any... I mean, yeah, there were some anecdotes of people being milquetoast racists, I guess, against her, but... It's not like huge swaths, or at least they were not like bringing up huge percentages or polls or whatever that people are disliking Hidalgo because, oh yeah, she's brown, or oh, don't like her because she's a woman, or whatever else. Anyway, so any closing words, by the way, Corey?
None.
9.
9 net.
Yep. But yeah, to everybody watching, thank you for tuning in. And Toxic Threads, I suggest that you like rewatch the whole stream, and I mean, especially when we go over this article. But you'll probably get a little bit of a kick out of it, knowing some of your content. But yeah, I would also like to thank Corey for coming on and being a possible candidate for being a new co-host. But
Hey,
yeah,
thank you, bro.
I have a little bit of consideration to do, and Corey, I will like chat with you once we go off air here just in a moment, in case you're curious. But yeah, bring up OBS. To all of you, those who tuned in, thank you for watching, and thank you all for joining Loudmouth Reviews, Incredible Aspie, and Corey. And
I wanted to add one more thing.
Yeah,
He's kind of cute.
Lena Hidalgo.
Yeah. I ain't gonna lie to you, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she's not bad, I guess.
Kind of cute, kind of in the, you know.
Yep. But see y'all next time on the next episode of Strike Force. And by the way, tell me of how that you like the new format that I'm trying to set up here with OBS. Down in the comment section below, tell me your feedback, and maybe in the chat when we're off air. But anyway, see y'all later next time, and God bless.